How great is ball? You know the phrase. That's right, it's college football season. This is the How Great is Ball training camp tour. I'm the host of the Yogi Roth Show, Yogi Roth, and I absolutely love this podcast because I've been able to drop around to all Pac-12 schools, all campuses in the preseason and get a glimpse of what each team is all about. Thankfully doing it with a proud partner, Sirius XM College Sports. So you can listen to this on Sirius XM, wherever you listen to Sirius XM. And of course, if you're a podcaster, just check out the Yogi Roth Show wherever you listen to podcasts. And I think you'll dig today's episode because it's from Eugene. I'm right outside of Autzen Stadium, and we're talking about the Ducks. That's right, the preseason North favorite. They got a huge Week 1 game in Dallas, Jerry World, against the Auburn Tigers. The weight of the Pac-12 per se is suitably on this team and this program, but I'll tell you what, they don't feel that, and I love how this team projects out. Had a chance to talk to head coach Mario Cristobal. He's coming up very shortly. I think you're going to love our conversation. Then sat down with senior four-year starter linebacker Troy Dye. Guy returned for his senior year to lead this defense. He's got a great perspective on life. And when you talk about perspective, you got to think about Justin Herbert, the other four-year starter senior who returned for his final season of eligibility as the quarterback for the Ducks. So we're talking about him. I actually sat down with his backup, quarterback Tyler Shuck. I've known Tyler since he was in high school with the Elite 11. I love his skill set. I love his intangibles. Not only do I think he's the future of this program, but he's going to offer some unique insight into what it's like to be in a room with Justin Herbert, what he's learned from that quarterback, what the mindset is for that position group, let alone the offense heading into this season. So I'm getting out of the way. Only one other stop left. If you've missed anything, just go to yogiroth.com as we will have previewed all 12 schools on this How Great is Ball training camp tour. But now for some insight on leadership, being a head coach, and how to build a program. Here's second-year head coach Mario Cristobal. Easily in one of the most beautiful facilities in all of sports, not necessarily college football, here at Oregon. Coach Mario Cristobal, thanks for joining us, man. Appreciate the time.
Thanks for having me. Always an honor to be here.
All right, so we'll get to the football, but I love reading about guys that have come and spoke to your team. Tony Dungy, John Gordon, a good friend of mine, been on this show before. You've had Keenan Lowe, Phil Knight, you had Shep the other night. How do you ideate who and what voice you want to come into the program, and how have you seen a variety of them impact this team?
Well, their messages and what they stand for, there have to be parallels to the messages and philosophies of our program. And we feel that just being around a lot of them or hearing of them, we feel like it's the perfect time. It's the perfect message. It's really reinforcing a lot of things that we already believe in. And I remember one of our older guys the other day say, it's like, darn, coach, I mean, we've had about a dozen millionaires come in here reinforcing the same stuff. I think by now, but we can get it, you know? So, but I think it's great because I like watching like their attention levels. I like sitting there and looking to see who's got a notepad out, who has eyes on, and what you see are direct eye contact. You see guys sitting up. And this is a time of year, this is interesting now, this is a time of year where there are no classes, right? The outside world just does not exist. We're in that submarine, we're way under, right? We're doing our own thing. So you have an unbelievable opportunity to really just a barrage of doing things the right way, of get betterness, you know, whatever you want to call it. And we maximize it. And so we've been fortunate to link up with these amazing speakers that we have developed great relationships with, and we maintain those relationships.
Yeah. What's it do for the staff? Because I'd imagine the staff meeting afterwards or the following morning is pretty compelling based on the people coming in.
Oh, our text thread is interesting. You should be on there now.
Let's go.
You better have thick skin too. Well, I think as time goes on, we're all realizing that one of the most important things is attaining and retaining elite staff members. You're only as good as your staff. There's no one person, one player behind the whole thing. It's an entire organization working together. So as we have all the focus on recruiting and development, well, you know what? The same amount of focus has to be invested in the staff and making sure you have the right guys, the guys that, you know, and you must find ways to continue to help them develop in their careers as well, because you want them here. You need them here. They're as big of a part of this as anybody else. So they enjoy the speakers. I mean, they help pick them some of the times, and hopefully we'll squeeze in a couple more here in the next couple of weeks. But no, it's awesome to have them benefit from this too.
I love how this program is about all things student athlete. One, I think it's kind of become vogue the last maybe 4 or 5 years, is sleep. I've been just talking to people. I was out of practice. Thanks for allowing me to come over. And you hear about guys who are out at 8:15 now. We got class on the grass, and you got to walk through. Even for coaches, of like getting home and getting a rest. And I know how much you grind, and you're up early, and you got your coffee, and you're rolling. But why has that become a tangible tool for this program now with these kids?
Well, I mean, it is what it is. It's a critical piece of the recovery process.
Yeah.
And so we've really structured the day so that they have time to get a good power nap in the middle. And we'd like to get them out of the building during camp at 8:15 on the dot. Now, I mess with the staff. I tell them all the time that they don't make them like they used to. I got to get you guys out of here so you can recharge and, plug in your batteries, whatever it may be. But it's important. And it's important to have the families around here and have them get to spend a little time with their families, because all that stuff is still part of getting better. It's still part of development. And it might not look like an X and an O drawing on a schematic sheet, but the value and the core values that presents and brings with it is just as important.
Yeah. Okay. Speaking of somebody who I think is going to bring value to your team, couldn't help but notice Javon Holland today. Yeah. We saw him last year. We saw a couple picks. Saw what he did. Obviously, a young guy, heralded. Where has he taken his game, and expectations for him in your defensive system under Coach Avalos?
Well, what he's figured out pretty quickly, that even late in his freshman year, and now as he begins his sophomore year, that he's a leader. And for teams to win and win big, your leaders have to lead. Whether whether you feel like it's your time, whether you feel like that's not your lane, well, you know what? It is your lane. Your lane is special when you do the things that he's done. So he's really just continued to elevate his standards for the way that he operates, for the way he prepares, and really the way he holds himself and others accountable. So he has the respect of the entire team, the entire program and organization. It's been a lot of fun just watching him, his versatility, because he brings a lot of stuff to the table. I love it.
That's cool. I've really enjoyed learning and talking about the fourth quarter program. And, when it's hard, you lean in, right? There's a bunch of elements to it. The receiving core, it's almost as though like the fourth quarter program and adversity hit them before you even had a game. What have you noticed from the group when a couple guys have gone down that maybe you expected to contribute in a big way?
Well, the first thing I saw them do is just knuckle up. They just refused to allow that to tear them down. They took it on as, this is part of the challenge. Did we ask for it? No. Was some type of adversity coming in some way, shape, or form? Yes, it was. And you know what? This is a form that hit us right now. We've talked about responding. We've talked about not only dealing with adversity and dealing with the grind, we've talked about attacking the grind, attacking adversity. And that's exactly what they've done. And they've done it full throttle. So it's been great to watch so many young guys step up and develop. And now they know that we're counting on them. They're being called upon, and they'll be ready to answer the bell.
Okay, answering the bell. You got one coming up. I've heard it's a big game. Every game is a big game. Mm-hmm. But they got to play you too, So I'm curious for you, especially, you meet them where they sweat, the offensive lineman, you being a guy who's got great expertise at that position. How excited are you to watch the fronts on, both sides? You got Jordan Scott played a ton of football. Austin Falyu's played a ton of football here. And your offensive line in this game coming up in what'll be almost less than a week here.
I think this game will be physical in every part of the field. I think the perimeter, they have big physical wide receivers, and they run and catch as well as they block now. They play hard with the ball in their hands or without the ball in their hands. They can run by you. They could run through you. I mean, they have prided themselves on being a physical and explosive football team, and so have we. And I think, whenever you set up for a matchup like this, the first thing you do is ultimate respect for your opponent. That's number one. We don't pull punches when we train our guys. We make sure they understand, hey, this is a great football team, a very storied program, and we're blessed with the opportunity to have this game on a big stage. And we've been preparing for a long time, for when moments like this do come up. So there's a bunch of excitement. We've really contained, I would say, or blocked out the outside noise. We've acknowledged it. We've acknowledged that, things like this are big, and they should be. People get excited. You sign up for this. They don't see it. It's in that really fine print at the bottom of their scholarship. They just can't see that all the hype and all the, but they also, we learned some hard lessons last year when we got caught up in noise and hype and social media following a big win. And we lost our process for a couple of weeks. Well, we don't need to feel consequences anymore. We've learned those consequences. to play in games like this, you have to understand this is a heavyweight, fight. I mean, this is one that it's going to require everything from everyone for both teams, and see, who finds a way to get it done. And we, again, this is a tremendous blessing. Looking forward to the opportunity. Everybody's fired up.
It's awesome. And finally, Coach, we talked to Media Days on the Pac-12 networks about your quarterback, Justin Herbert, and how you wanted him just enjoy it, enjoy the experience. I saw him pre-practice, and chest was up, his eyes were up. I mean, he just seemed full of life. You've seen him obviously much more often than I have. What have you noticed about him and the joy factor coming into the season, his final one here with Oregon?
Well, he is as down to earth as it gets. So all we see is just a level-headed guy, a very humble, hungry, and driven guy. A guy that has really taken so much ownership in this program and has taken on that next, or has taken a next step as a leader in his leadership role, knowing that for us to be successful, he has to do that. And he's embraced it. He's attacked that process as well. Blessed to have him. I mean, he's literally he's what you want your son to be.
So well. All right, so I'm going to make sure I bust Mike Yam, tell him he's not on the text thread. Insert me into that one.
Yes, I don't think he could handle. He's too sensitive for that thread. We'll keep him out of that. At least we'll put him on a trial period for a month, see how he handles it.
I love it. All right, Coach. Hey, good luck. Stay healthy. Can't wait to see you throughout the fall.
Appreciate you, man. Have a good one.
You got it. Coach Cristobal, he's impressive. And if you know anything about him, you know he loves himself an early morning cup of coffee. If you listen to this podcast, you know I love myself some early morning coffee as well. It's Kona Red Coffee, the proud partner of the Yogi Roth Show as we go around the Pac-12 footprint. This is podcast number 11 of the 12 schools. And if you want to sit back and listen to the episodes that maybe you've missed, get yourself some Kona Red. Go to KonaRed.com. And to teach you a little bit about this type of coffee, well, number one, it comes from the volcanic mountain slopes of Hawaii. So you should lean in just immediately from there. And they source some of the rarest, most sought after coffee on the planet. They've got premium coffee beans if you want to grind them up. They got cold brew. They got these little cans that I absolutely love. They even have a juice called the Hawaiian Cascara juice. So check them out at KonaRed.com. Or if you're on the street, if you're on the road like myself, go to Vaughn's, Albertsons, Pavilions, Ralph's, Bristol Farms, Sprouts, and many other places. But KonaRed.com, to me, it's big time coffee. And here at Oregon, it's big time football. So let's get back to some big time interviews. Coming up next is a linebacker, the senior, the captain, the 4-year starter, Troy Dye. All right, we're back here in the beautiful facility. We got senior linebacker Troy Dye joining the show, man. I've been bouncing around the Pac-12 conference, and a lot happens, obviously, in college football. But a lot happens off the field as well. We were just talking prior to being on air of what's going on in the Amazon rainforest. Yeah. Like, do you stay in touch with the outside world? You know, this is your 4th camp, 4-year starter within this program.
Well, it's hard. It really is hard to stay in touch with the outside world during camp because you are here the entire day from 6:30 in the morning till 8:30 at night. So you're here when the sun comes up and the sun goes down. So it's kind of hard to stay in touch. But I think with today's day and age, with the social medias and the different news outlets that we can reach out to and see with our phones, it's kind of easy to stay in touch. And like you said, we were talking about the Amazon rainforest stuff earlier, and it's kind of cool. You can look up things like that and really have your opinions on things and really talk to different teammates and different coaches and stuff like that, and really still feel connected to the outside world, but still be inside your own little world.
Yeah. So curious if you can remember back to your first camp, because you were mid-year enrollee, right?
Yeah.
So you kind of had a little time on campus, but your first true training camp, what it felt like when it was ending, because we're basically at the end of training camp here, and now what it feels like with your final training camp ending.
I mean, I remember my freshman year when it finally ended, I was just super excited, like, man, I made it through it, like, cause it was rough for me. I didn't take care of my body really well. Like, I remember my first, the 3rd day in, I cramped up in my hamstrings and my quads at the same time. So it was super bad. So I remember that camp, I was just excited to get over with. The freshman year finally done. Season's around the corner. So we finally get to go out there and prove what I was able to do. And I think this camp, it was exciting just because how close we came together as a team and how fast we picked up this defense that Coach Avalos has installed, and just super exciting just about all the things that we've done these past couple of weeks and how much we've grown as a team and how much I've grown individually.
Yeah, I think that's a great point of teams coming together in camp. And you guys are on the quarter system. Yeah. So you still have some more time to unite, connect, etc. How can you tell? You've been around a bunch, as you said. You're the vet here. How can you tell when a team is united?
You can tell when there's not a lot of different individual cliques and like different individual groups who stay separated. Like everybody has their own little clique, their own little group, like 4 or 5 friends who they're like their go-to best friends. But I mean, on this team, I feel like everybody can go talk to anybody no matter what. And then on past teams, I don't think that was an option. I think guys had their different cliques and guys stayed to their cliques. But I think on this team, cliques intermingle, and I think guys branch out and they talk to each other. I mean, you got DBs talking to offensive linemen, hanging out with guys, or like different specialists hanging out with quarterbacks, like things you don't expect to see from the outside looking in. But I think Coach Cristobal and the rest of the staff have done a great job of setting up team events and just different things to get us to grow and bond more as a team and really gel and come together as a family.
Who's somebody that you've really connected with that maybe in years past, if it was click-based, you wouldn't necessarily have done? I
mean, me personally, I'm an outgoing guy, but I think if it was more of a click-based type thing in the past, I don't think I would talk to as many receivers as I do. Or tight ends. But I think I'm really close to receivers and tight ends. I'm really close with everybody on the team. I kind of branch out and try to talk to everybody, specialists, quarterbacks. Me and Herb always joke around. I love the kickers and long snappers. They're funny dudes. I always have love for my D linemen. I always love those dudes to death. Inside linebacker room is always going to be tight for me because that's just my position. But if I did have to pick a group that in the past I wasn't predominantly hanging out with, probably be receivers and tight ends that I've grown more closely to.
I was at a practice today, and the quarterbacks during a specialist period were doing blitz pickup.
Yeah.
And I saw you come over and play offensive tackle. Justin Herbert was playing defensive end.
Exactly.
You guys are 2 interesting peas in the same pod of playing as freshmen, going through a lot, and coming back for this year. What has the camp been like for you two? And do you have these moments where you click in with one another and your relationship's a little deeper than other ones?
Yeah, most definitely. Like, we talked about this a little bit at the Pac-12 Media Day. It's cool because we've been through a lot together. We've seen all the ups and all the downs from this program, and just being able to go out there, like you said, being the 2 kids who were the 2 freshmen and really just the poster kids as young people, and having to carry this as much as we carried it. We have a bond that most people don't have on this team. I mean, we can connect and always talk about anything, always have fun and laugh. But when we get out on the field, we really compete. We really push each other's buttons. We really push each other to the edge because I know his buttons, he knows my buttons, and we always try to push them and make each other better because at the end of the day, we have to make each other better. I mean, iron really does sharpen iron, and if I'm not getting better, he's not getting better. If he's not getting better, I'm not getting better. So we always just try to get better and grow as a team and grow personally and individually. We don't ever take anything to heart. It's always competition when we walk off the field. We're brothers again, and we laugh it up and have fun. But when we're between those white lines, it is a competition thing, and I think we both respect that, and we love that about each other.
I love that. So speaking of getting better, I just talked to your head coach, Mario Cristobal, and I love that you guys bring in a variety of speakers. So I'm just going to name a few. Tony Dungy, John Gordon, who's been on this show, obviously Keenan Lowe, Phil Knight a couple days ago, Shep came by, another motivational speaker. What's something that you've taken from one of those individuals that you've applied to your life? And
yeah, I mean, I think all these guest speakers bring in something different, and they all have different aspects. I mean, Coach Dungy talked about many different team aspect things and buying and being one as a team and really doing all the things the right way. John Gordon talked about different things on how to eliminate outside distractions and really focus on your craft and on your toolbox and what you need to do to work on you and the mind of positivity and things of that nature. Shep always talks about overcoming adversity and things of that nature, and always just applying yourself and always staying strong and stuff like that. So when you can take different points of views and apply it to your life and apply it to your game, is really big. And I think Coach Cristobal does a great job, like you said, bringing in different guest speakers to apply to different people on the team, because not everybody comes from the same walk of life. And I think they do bring in a good job of bringing in speakers who can apply it to all different walks of life. And I think it brings the team in closer and tighter because you can understand where other people are coming from a different speaker, because you can understand, like, okay, that is their point of view, and okay, now I understand why you think that way, or I understand why you do things that way, because that's the way you were brought up, or that's the area you were in, just different things like that. And you can understand to just be more kind and more understanding on where people come from.
Love that. Now, speaking of coming from, there's a lot of people coming from all over the country for game one, right? Obviously from this community, Southern California, where you're from, I'm sure you got a community coming on the East Coast, Auburn, obviously, in their institution. Coach called it a heavyweight fight. Mm-hmm. Like, how do you look at this game? Because there's always anticipation for kickoff. I've called a couple of your openers in your career. Yeah. But this one, clearly, there's going to be more hype with game day, et cetera, around it. How do you approach it, and how do you talk to some of the other performers on the team about it?
I mean, I think like you said, it got approached like any other first game, but it is a little bit more on the line because, like you said, like Coach Cristobal said, it is a heavyweight fight. It's two top Division I programs who have a little bit of a history from that 2010 game. So, I mean, the fan bases they both have great fan bases. Like you said, there's going to be cavalries from all over the place coming in. I think just trying to keep guys focused and just let them know that it is just a game. Like, you have to go out there and play, relax, and have fun with it at the end of the day. Whether you win or lose, like, you have to have fun with the game, because if you're not having fun, there's no point in playing. Because once you go out there and you get stiff and you're not having fun, like, you start to hate it, and it's no fun at that point, and you start to bring everybody else down. You start being a negative Nancy, and that's not fun. So just stay positive, stay on the upright, and just work on your craft and just be in your playbook and just know what you have to do. And hopefully at the end of the day, everything plays out for you.
I love that. Okay, before we let you go, fourth camp is basically completed the day that I'm here. By the time this comes out, you'll already be in game plan mode. Is there one thing, and if there is, what is the one thing that you're going to miss from training camp here at Oregon?
Man, it'd be the off time, like when you're around the building with the boys, just hanging out, having fun. It must have been 4 days ago, I was playing, I think it was at dinner. We were playing dominoes, me, Sam Patasi, Isaac Slade, and Samson New. Just playing dominoes, having fun. I killed him. Just 5 houses, racking it up, just killed him. And it was just like stuff like that. Like, it can happen in the league, and you can have those relationships out there, but it'll never be like how it is here. And I always hear that from other people. It's always the 4 years here, you'll never get it back. Like, once it's gone, it's gone. And I'm really grateful for the time that I've had here, and just continue to enjoy every moment and every day, because I do know that next February, next April is not longer going to be a chance for me to come back and put my thumb on the scanners here and go up to the locker room. All that stuff is done. So, I mean, just try to enjoy it as much as I can and have fun with it.
That's awesome. I bet your parents are just like, your family's going to be so stoked.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. Hopefully it's cool. But Travis is still here, so they ain't going to get too far from you, Jimmy.
Totally. Oh, I wish you, your brother, running back, and your family the best of luck in this final year for you, man.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
All right, that's Troy Dye right here on the How Great Is Ball Training Camp Tour. Back here at the HTC, otherwise known as the HQ, headquarters of Oregon football, joined by Tyler Shuck, backup quarterback, somebody I've known for a long time.
Sure.
Last time we were interviewing each other, or I was interviewing you, it was during the Elite 11.
Right.
What do you remember about that experience from high school football?
It was a wonderful experience. I still think about that from today, just like the stuff that I've learned then, the relationships I've made through that whole journey has just been, it's been life-changing, really. Just to kind of, I mean, when I first came into that whole process, it was more like, you know, trying to get better. Like, I wasn't a huge name coming up into that, and just kind of really prove to myself that, you know, I can grow and be better. And then being guys like you and Coach Dilfer is just, it was such a great process.
I can remember talking to your now offensive coordinator, Marcus Arroyo, about you, because you were one time committed to a different school, and he was going to the Phoenix area, and he's like, I'm going to go watch him. And I can remember afterwards, he and I communicating about, you know, how the type of person you were, let alone the type of player you were. What made you choose this school? Because I think when you look at the facility we're in right now, like, clearly it's epic and it's huge. But when I think about you, I think it's somebody that's really grounded and humble and probably not that impressed by the flashy things. Yeah. So what led you here?
It was honestly just kind of the culture behind it. I mean, my mom's from here. I have a lot of connections here. My whole left side of my mom's side of my family grew up in Oregon. And I think just, and then the coaches, I mean, obviously there was a lot that went down, you know, Coach Taggart leaving. I was basically recruited by him and Coach Arroyo. When I found out Coach Cristobal was staying, Coach Arroyo was staying, it was kind of a done deal. But like you said, like, the whole facilities and everything is nice. But, you know, people talk about jerseys. You know, I was originally committed to North Carolina. You know, they're sponsored by Jordan. They have great jerseys. Like, it doesn't really mean anything to me about that kind of stuff. So it really just came down to the opportunity to play. Obviously, you think Justin is such a great talent there. Trying to learn from him. Hoping last year, you know, he'd have a great year and leave. And obviously, he's doing the best for what he can for his situation, and I obviously fully support him and respected that. So I think it's been just a great situation last year, getting to redshirt and then come in now ready to play.
So curious what your expectation was of what college was and college football was, and then what you think the reality is now as your second camp has just completed.
I mean, now obviously that's the battle for any freshman coming in. Is obviously, I mean, I asked a lot of people like what it's going to be like, especially at the quarterback position, because there's only one person out there. And, you know, Justin being such a prominent person in Eugene and for the whole city and school, obviously that took a little bit getting used to. Obviously for anybody, you're, starting quarterback in your own respective state and high school, and then kind of learning your role here. I think that has been like the most exciting and fun part, really, because I feel like I've taken on a leadership role as well for this team, just honestly being the backup quarterback, and then obviously more than that, because I think it really doesn't matter, I think, what position you're in or what position you play, what year you are. I think just being like a positive role for everyone else or somebody that you can talk to has been kind of the learning groove for me and what I've come into.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, because everybody, including me as a broadcaster, you look at the starting quarterback and you ask them the questions, and you feel as though that's the pulse of the team. But really that room is the pulse of the team. Mm-hmm. Everybody from the first string to the backup to the fourth string to the whatever it is to the coach. Did you expect that in terms of like you'd settle into a role like that as a backup quarterback, or was that something that pleasantly surprised you being here?
I think it's been pleasantly surprised. Well, obviously, I don't expect to come into that role. I think I've just learned it over time and how to adapt to it. Especially, it's unique to each situation at every college. But honestly, I've just kind of enjoyed it so much. It's been such a blessing to be able to learn from these coaches, and including Justin. It's just been, it's kind of hard to not have fun when you're out here with all these guys. So,
how do you curate like the things that you learn? Are you a huge note taker, and what have you learned from watching Justin go through his experience?
Right. Obviously, I'm big into taking notes and like you said, and just asking questions. I feel like before I got here, maybe it wasn't as acceptable in the room to ask maybe questions about, or I just was really curious about like what to do and how to get better. And then obviously I just emulated what I did after Justin physically. Justin and I did some things differently, like as far as socially or like communicative wise or like leadership wise. I feel like I was more like open to talking to other people. But obviously everything he did physically and in like out there on the football field, I was trying to adapt and like grow in that way, and then kind of just stay true to myself. I didn't really want to change who I was based on what situation was here, but more grow like out there on the field.
What do you take from him in terms of, as you guys are coming up for a big game here in the Auburn game, how does he prep, and how have you applied that to your role as the backup being a snap away?
Right. Obviously, him and I have grown as such friends that we can just communicate pretty much about anything. So obviously I'm asking him questions on what he sees in this front, what he sees in these coverages, like when are you going to watch film, what are you looking for? Coach Arroyo does a great job with that, like communicating to like tendencies to what to look for in a defense. But honestly, just kind of being his ear. Sometimes obviously that can be somewhat annoying if you look at it from a negative perspective. But honestly, him and I have such a good relationship. It's really just been a good on good kind of relationship.
I love that. Speaking of good relationships, Marcus Arroyo, I think he's one of the best quarterback builders, offensive minds in the country. Where have you seen things where you're like, oh wow, yeah, that's unique right there. Wow, yeah, that's something I've never heard of before regarding him and how he's been teaching you guys at that position?
I think he preaches what he teaches. he just does everything that he wants us to do. He does it himself, just like holding us to a standard, but he also, has that, he has his ego checks where he just thinks back, like, all right, I was a player, like I know where you're coming from. He's always wanting to get better. I think just seeing that as a player, obviously it's got developed over time. Like you don't want to just see him hold Justin to a different standard than me. And I think that has been such a huge step, because I still I want to grow as well. So does every quarterback in that room. I think he just puts that high standard on us and then doesn't let us slip from it, which I really appreciate.
Such a talented freshman class you came in with. Mm-hmm. You could argue even a more talented, at least rated class in this year's class.
Right.
What have you noticed about the last two classes here, and really the first two in the Mario Cristobal era as the head coach?
That's a good point. I think this staff has been putting emphasis on just recruiting, good people who want to work hard, and obviously I think that's what, when you come to college, or I could give advice to any high school kid coming into college is, don't have that mindset that you're just going to come in and take over. You got to learn your role and work for what you get, and then eventually that will all come. I think a lot of these young guys have done that. They don't talk too much. They've just put in the work, and then it's obviously shown on the field, and it's been pretty exciting to see.
Another thing that's kind of exciting to me is watching your social media time, specifically on like Flex Fridays.
Yeah.
And Fill the Sleeves, obviously with your strength coach.
Yeah.
What's it like to go work out in there? Because I just watch you and you're very quiet demeanor. People can hear you right now.
Yeah.
If you meet you, you're a very humble guy. And I watch you work out and I'm like, who is this dude?
It's you got to flip the switch sometimes when you're in there. It's like you walk through the door and there's music blaring, or I'm a huge music guy. I don't listen to music per se before pregame. I like to kind of just, but like when we're working out, or like I just love listening to music, and Coach Feld and all the other guys are kind of big into that. But he's just a hoot in itself, and you just got to match his intensity. I think that's what I love about, and the guys love about him, is that if you're not willing to match his intensity or the players around you, that's why we do stuff like Duck Jacks, where we have player-led stuff. Like once you set that tone, then that's what we got to go with. So you can't just fall short from it.
I love it. Well, the tone's going to be set here, college football. We're less than a week away by the time this comes out. Most excited element do you think the team is for the Auburn game upcoming?
I don't think anybody's, nervous or scared about the big stage about it. I think they're excited to get out there and play football against a new team, to be honest. Whether whoever the opponent is, we've just been going against each other for so long. We feel like, a lot of our plays are working. The new defense we've been going against, they've been making plays. So it's just like, we're excited to actually put it out there on the field and, see what can happen. Cool.
And then before I let you go, I got to ask you this. The guy you sit next to, you just described your relationship with Justin Herbert. Projected top guy drafted, projected go to New York, projected everything, and has also obviously balled out before. How have you watched him deal with those types of expectations that I'd imagine you hope to have in front of you someday?
Right. He's the pinnacle of how you handle that kind of stuff. Just I try and emulate what I do as far as, his social media perspective. Like he obviously is not on social media that much. He's taken it well. Obviously, I can imagine how difficult it is for being a local kid. I think he's embraced it really well, and just obviously the expectations behind it. But he just takes it with a grain of salt. Just takes it, moves on. Obviously, there's some times where I don't get to see everything he does, but from what I see from just being around him, he's obviously a very humble guy, and trying to emulate that every day.
I love it, man. I'm so happy for you. I think back to Redondo Beach, and the opening, and now here you are at Oregon, man. I'm so stoked for your future.
Appreciate that. Thank you for having me.
All right, that's Tyler Shuck. We'll be right back, right here on the How Great Is Ball Training Camp Tour. What a day. I love being here at Oregon. Love watching practice. Love watching them compete. And, of course, talking to those three individuals. Coach Cristobal, does he not inspire you? He makes you laugh. He gets you jacked up. He's got all the tools as a head coach, and really excited he's in this conference and, of course, at this institution. I love talking to him and love coming to this program and this campus to visit and watch his student athletes compete, and his coaches. They coach their tail off. Second one, you heard Troy Dye. He sounds like a leader's supposed to sound. He sounds like a 4-year starter. And then Tyler Shuck. And he's going to be the future of this program when Justin Herbert goes on to the National Football League, and to hear him talk about their relationship and what he takes from him, throughout everything that Justin is going through, to me was really impressive. And any young quarterback can take something from that. But overall, I think this team is worthy of the hype. Preseason chosen to win the Pac-12 North. I love their offensive front. I really enjoy watching their defensive front. They got a new coordinator, Andy Avalos, on the defensive side of the ball. Marcus Arroyo returns. There's some injuries at wide receiver, so I think you'll see the passing game continue to improve as the year goes on. But overall, I do believe this team, has all the tools, all the intangibles, and the players to win the Pac-12 North and even make a little bit more noise. So right now, you're probably greased up, lathered up. We got game one coming up here with the Auburn Tigers in Dallas, College Game Day, all the hype around this program. Really, both programs, as you can imagine. I think it's going to be really fun to watch that one go down. Also, we got games on the Pac-12 networks. We got shows every Tuesday night. Mike Yam and I will be talking college football. Saturday, I'm going to be at Eastern Washington against Washington, the team chosen right below the Oregon Ducks in the Pac-12 North, and, of course, the defending Pac-12 champs. And if you want any more insight on college football or listen to any other conversations, just go to yogiroth.com. You can also subscribe to the How Great Is Ball newsletter, where every Friday I'll be in your inbox. Tidbits, articles, podcasts, links, just fun little things, and hopefully inspiring and impactful things around this game that we all have grown to love. So I'm getting out of the way. I got to catch a plane because the How Great Is Ball Training Camp Tour has one final stop. I can't wait to not only get there, but also finish up this tour and get to games. Thanks for listening. I'm out here. Peace.